Talking about your family is one of the best ways to really connect with people, but sometimes finding just the right words in English can feel a little tricky. Well, in this explainer, we're going to cover everything from the basic words to the grammar that'll help you share your family story with confidence. So let's get started.
Here's what we're going to do. First, we'll get the key vocabulary down. Then, we'll see how to build sentences. After that, we'll practice some real conversations, add a little flair to sound more natural, and finally, we'll look at one super common mistake and how to fix it for good.
All right, first things first, we have to build our foundation, and that means learning the words. Before you can tell any stories, you've got to know who's who, right? So, first up, we have what's called the immediate family. Think of this as your core group, your inner circle. We're talking about your parents, your brothers and sisters, your spouse, and your kids. These are the people you're most directly connected to. And then, if we zoom out a bit, we get to the extended family. This circle is much wider. It includes people like your grandparents, your aunts and uncles, your cousins, basically everyone else you're related to. Let's run through those core members really quickly. You've got your mother and father, or more casually, mom and dad, then their sister, brother, husband, wife, son, and daughter. These are really the essential building blocks for any conversation about family. Now, for the extended family, the people you'll probably talk about the most are your grandfather and grandmother, your uncle and aunt, and your cousins. Oh, and if your siblings have kids of their own, then you have a nephew or a niece. Okay, so we've got the people down, but how do you actually use these words in a sentence? Well, that's where grammar comes in. It's kind of like the glue that holds the whole conversation together. This is super important. To show that someone is part of your family, you need these possessive pronouns. You wouldn't just say brother, right? You'd say my brother. As you can see, for every I, there's a my. For every he, there's a his. Using these correctly is absolutely key. Now, here's a golden rule for English sentences. The structure is almost always the same. Subject, then the verb, then the object. So, I love my family. If you stick to this simple pattern, you'll always be understood. It's that simple. And word order really, really matters. Take a look at that first sentence in the unnatural column. I with my family went skiing. It just sounds clunky. In English, it feels much more natural to put that extra info, like with my family, at the end of the sentence. I went skiing with my family. See how much smoother that sounds? Okay, theory time is over. We have the words, we have the rules. Now for the fun part. Let's see how this all works in a real, actual conversation. So imagine you're meeting someone new. This is one of the most common get-to-know-you questions you'll hear. Siblings is just a handy word for brothers and sisters. Someone might ask you this. And a perfect, natural-sounding answer would be something just like this. See how we're using older and younger to give a little more detail? You can just swap in your own family's details here. Easy. Here's another really common one, especially as you get to know someone a little better. It's a very simple, direct question. And the answer is just as simple and clear. I have a, and then you can add their age, and if it's a son or a daughter. Perfect. All right, you've got the basics down, you're sounding correct, which is great, but how do you go from sounding correct to sounding truly natural? Well, the secret ingredient here is using idioms. Let's check a few out. So idioms are these cool phrases that add a ton of color to your speech. The meaning isn't always obvious just from the words, but using them shows you really have a feel for the language. This one's a classic. Let's say your friend is an amazing artist, just like his father. You could say to him, wow, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. It's a great way to say he has similar talents to his parent. Now, this one is super direct. If a little boy is obsessed with cars, just like his dad, you can just smile and say, like father, like son. And of course, it works the other way too. You can absolutely say, like mother, like daughter. Okay, we're at our final section, and I've saved a really important tip for last. This is a super common mistake. And once you know how to fix it, I promise it's going to make a huge difference in how fluent you sound. I hear this one a lot, and it's totally understandable, especially if your first language has a different sentence structure. But in English, this just sounds off. So let's break down exactly why it doesn't work. Okay, let's think about this in terms of groups. The word I is your first group, right? And it only has one person in it.
You. Then, when you say with my family, you're adding a second group. The problem is, you can't start the sentence with we, because we already implies that your first group has more than one person. But in this case, it's just I.
So, what's the right way to say it? Simple. You have two great options. You can either say, I went skiing with my family, or you can put both groups together at the beginning and say, my family and I went skiing. Both of those sound perfectly natural.
And that's a wrap. We've covered the words, the grammar, and some of those tricky spots. You've got all the tools you need now to talk about your family with confidence. So the only question left is, who are you going to talk about first? Thanks so much for joining me.